ก็ยินดีต้อนรับทุกท่านเข้าสู่งานสัมมนานะครับโดยสัมมนาครั้งนี้นะครับเป็นส่วนหนึ่งของเว็บมินาซีรีส์นะครับที่เราตั้งเป็นหัวข้อว่า Next Generation Datacenter Network Webinar Series นะครับซึ่งเป็นการรวมกันของเว็บมินาของทั้ง3ส่วนนะครับก็คือได้แก่ทั้งฮาร์ดแวร์ก็คือตัว EdgeCore ที่จัดไปเมื่อวันอังคารนะครับในส่วนของซอฟต์แวร์ก็คือตัว Cumulus ที่จัดไปเมื่อวานนะครับและในวันนี้คือ XDN Solution เป็นในส่วนของ Apstra นะครับก็จัดขึ้นในวันนี้นะครับเราจะใช้เวลาประมาณ1ชั่วโมงนะครับสำหรับวันนี้ก็ด้วยทุกวันนี้นะครับการเจริญเติบโตของ Datacenter แล้วก็เรื่องของ Cloud Service ทั้งหลายนะครับทำให้ Network นะครับถูกขยายเติบโตอย่างรวดเร็วนะครับแล้วก็ระบบในปัจจุบันนะครับก็ต้องการระบบที่ยืดหยุ่นนะครับพร้อมที่จะปรับเปลี่ยนได้ตลอดเวลานะครับก็เป็นที่มาของเรื่องของระบบ SDN Solution ในทุกวันนี้นะครับก็เพื่อไม่ให้เป็นการเสียเวลานะครับวันนี้นะครับผมวรัตน์ วัฒนากุลชัยนะครับจะเป็นผู้ดำเนินรายการนะครับแล้วก็จะมีทีมงานของ Apstra นะครับก็คือคุณมินซูนะครับจะเป็นผู้ร่วมสัมมนากับคุณวาทารุนะครับแล้วก็จะมีทีมงานของ EasyNetwork ครับที่จะช่วยตอบคำถามอยู่ในช่องแชทนะครับถ้าหากว่าท่านใดมีคำถามนะครับขอความกรุณาใช้ช่องทางของ Q&A นะครับเพื่อให้คำถามไม่ตกหล่นนะครับแล้วก็ได้ถูกตอบอย่างครบถ้วนนะครับหลังจากที่งานสัมมนากำลังจะเสร็จสิ้นนะครับก็ช่วงท้ายของงานสัมมนานะครับจะมีเรื่องของควิซการตอบคำถามนะครับโดยเราเตรียมของรางวัลที่ระลึกเอาไว้นะครับเป็นชุดทัมเบลอร์นะครับเก็บความร้อนเก็บความเย็นด้วยกัน3ชุดนะครับแล้วก็เป็นพรีเมียมแล็ปท็อปแบ็ค1ใบนะครับสำหรับผู้เข้าร่วมสัมมนาที่ตอบคำถามถูกนะครับแล้วก็ตอบคำถามได้เร็วนะครับก็คิดว่าผู้เข้าร่วมสัมมนาน่าจะเข้ามาปริมาณหนึ่งแล้วนะครับก็ผมขอเชิญท่านวิทยากรนะครับเริ่มสัมมนาเลยนะครับมิสเตอร์มินซู over to you
Thank you, Kumwarak. Hello, everyone. My name is Min-Soo Kim. I am in charge of APAC minus Japan for Apstra. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to do about 10 minutes to talk to you about the why Apstra. You know, some of you may have some familiarity with Apstra or some of you may not. But I think all of you have networks that are mission critical. And you need to put in solutions that will allow you to maintain these mission critical networks as we head into what is most undoubtedly going to be a new way of doing business. And this new way of doing business is going to include a new way to operate your businesses. So we're going to talk a little bit about the why. And then my colleague Wataru, who I believe Kumwarak mentioned, he's the SE head for all of APAC. And he will go through some slides, but not too many, we promise. We don't want to kill you guys with slides. He will go through some slides to give you a quick overview of our tech. And then what I think will be the highlight of today's webinar will be a demo that will kind of tie in all together all the things that I'm going to talk about right now and also what Wataru will show you in the tech. So, you know, before we jump into the deck, I just, you know, I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with all of you because I think that in the, you know, the times that we're living in and everyone is so concerned about lockdowns and quarantines and all that other stuff that's going on. And the thing is at some point we are going to be returning to work. And even though we continue to try and these WebExes are great, you know, we're going to come back to new realities. But the new realities that we're going to find out about are actually not that different than the old realities. I think everyone on this call in some way, shape, or form has responsibility for networks, whether it's the designing of the network, like a solution architect, or maybe approving the budget for a network, doesn't matter. Everyone, the idea of a network, and this is where I think we've ran into some trouble as an industry, is we sometimes tend to be so focused on the hardware that we forget that a network is not just about which boxes you've purchased. Now, there are a lot of great box vendors out there, and I know if you have a choice and if you can, purchase EdgeCore via EasyNetwork, I definitely recommend you doing that. But what we're talking about as a company is this idea that your networks are not just boxes. They're not just switches and servers and cables. Your networks are living, breathing organisms. They constantly need attention. They are constantly changing. They constantly require upkeep and management. They need to be troubleshot. You need to analyze the traffic from that. As an industry, and this is my 25th year in networking and telecom, and I can tell you that even just based on my own limited experience, how we design networks, how we build networks, how we manage them, how we operate, troubleshoot them, provide analytics to them, has not really changed that much in the 25 years I've been in this industry. Yes, best practices have changed, things such as, what type of technologies, whether they be routing protocols, these things all change. But the essential need for your network, what does your network do? Like if you're a university, you need to provide, you're going to have moving forward, maybe more requirements related to distance learning or online education. Maybe you're an ISP and you're internet services. These are things that are going to undergo and change. But the thing that will never change is the need for a network that you can design, build, deploy, operate, what we like to call this full life cycle. Keeping in mind that a network isn't just buy some switches, configure those switches, and then let it run, because that's just not how it works. I think all of you who have joined this webinar, you're joining this webinar, and the other two that EasyNetwork had yesterday and the day before, because I think you acutely understand that the way that you've been designing, building, deploying, operating these networks, there's a better way to do that. And that's what we're going to show you today. And that's why Apstra, the value proposition, why do customers choose Apstra? Why do customers deploy Apstra? And it really comes down to a couple major things. One is we eliminate pain. The pain of buying expensive boxes, the pain of having data center network engineers who have to do the same task over and over and over again, to this point about automation. We eliminate pain by reducing the amount of time it takes to do certain tasks. We eliminate pain by providing customers, users, with a tool that doesn't cover just, let's say, switch configuration or monitoring. Wataru is going to talk about a term which I hope you'll remember throughout, this idea of full lifecycle automation. To my point earlier, networks are not just unboxing the boxes, putting up the cabling, and then turning on the power. Networks need your constant attention. And I am quite confident when I say that we are the only tool out there that can automate many of your tasks and provide full lifecycle coverage, full lifecycle automation. And which brings me to the second point, which is the fact that we are able to automate so many of these tasks and eliminate your pain. We are also a great tool to reduce your overall operational and capital expense costs. Now, when people talk about networks, sometimes they talk about these huge hyperscale 100, 200, 1,000 switch, whatever these large size networks are. But what are the tools out there that can really be applied in something as small as a 4 switch network or a 10 switch or a 20 switch, where you can see the value in reducing the amount of time all of these tasks take and the amount of subsequent cost that is involved with that. That's what we do. That's what Apstra does via our flagship product AOS. And this is what I hope, if you don't, if you learn nothing today, and I do hope you learned something, I hope that via this session, you will see that there's a better way to design, build, deploy, operate, manage, troubleshoot, and provide analytics to for your network. There is a better way. There is a tool that can cover you across the entire life cycle, not just 1 or 2 pieces. And I hope that at minimum, you understand that there are tools out there that allow you to do that and will allow you to decrease your dependence on just hardware. So with that said, before I pass on to my colleague Wataru, I'd like to see if there are any questions or comments before we do so.
มีท่านใดมีคำถามระหว่างนี้ไหมครับก็ผมใช้โอกาสนี้นะครับขอสอบถามข้อมูลจากทุกท่านนะครับด้วยโพลอันนี้นะครับว่าองค์กรของท่านมีระบบ SDN Solution อยู่หรือไม่ครับเราจะใช้เวลาตรงนี้กันไม่มากนะครับอาจจะสัก15วินาที20วินาทีนะครับเป็นตัวเลขที่น่าสนใจทีเดียวครับงั้นผมขอปิดโหวตนะครับในอีก3วินาทีนะครับ2 3ก็เป็นตัวเลขที่น่าสนใจนะครับโดยทั้งหมด 95% นะครับไม่มีระบบ SDN อยู่นะครับ
Mr. Walk, is that a good 95% or a bad 95%?
95% that mean they don't have SDN solution.
Excellent. Okay. Well, then I hope if you don't have a SDN solution now, then that probably means you're reliant a great deal on your partners, or you're reliant very much on the hardware vendor. I hope today, and I think we will show you via our tool, via our solution, how easy it is to actually deploy a intent-based SDN solution such as ours.
ก็อย่างที่คุณมินซูว่านะครับถ้าหากว่าทุกวันนี้เรายังไม่ได้ใช้เรื่องของ SDN นะครับนั่นก็คือหมายความว่าระบบเน็ตเวิร์คของทุกท่านยังขึ้นตรงอยู่กับไม่ว่าจะเป็นเจ้าหน้าที่หรือว่าจะเป็นซัพพลายเออร์หรือว่าเป็น SI partner ที่จะต้องเข้ามาดูแลจัดการในส่วนนี้อย่างต่อเนื่องนะครับก็ผมจะไม่เสียเวลาตรงนี้นะครับก็ขอเชิญคุณวัทรุ Mr. วัทรุ please
Okay, thank you, Kunwarak. Hello, everyone. Sawadee Krap. My name is Wataru. I live in Tokyo, and I am the SE for Apstra for the APAC region. So I would like to thank our partner EasyNetwork for giving us this opportunity to present to the Thai tech community. So today I would like to introduce you to the concept of intent-based networking. And I will spend about the next 15 minutes or so on my slides to give you a introduction to our technology. And then I am ready to show you a demo of our product, of how this actually works, how it might make your life easier as somebody who is involved in infrastructure technology. Okay, so I hope you learned something today. Let's get into it. So First, I will quickly cover some industry trends of why there is a very high need for automation in today's infrastructure management, and how intent-based networking is a new approach to automation that can make managing infrastructure much painless compared to previous methods. And finally, I will show you a demo of our product, Apstra AOS, to give you an idea of how this really works. Okay, so let me start with just a few slides. I am going to go over these very quickly, so I apologize if it sounds like I'm going too quickly, but I think most of the attendees today are interested in the technology, so I will just go through these very briefly. So, IT, right, is becoming architecturally complex, especially networking. Today, the topic of this webinar is data center infrastructure and networking, and there are many more advanced architectures and tools available, but that just makes designing and operating the data center network much more difficult compared to 5 years ago or 15 years ago. And also there is a lot more requirement for being agile now, right? Maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you build network once and you don't touch it for 5 years, right? But now requirements are requirements come very fast, requirements are dynamic, so a new mode of operations is required. So, we have to adjust to these more complicated and dynamic requirements, but what are some of the challenges we are facing today? I think a lot of infrastructure and networking management tools are hardware specific, right? Maybe you have a tool from one vendor, tool from another vendor that is maybe not compatible with your next infrastructure strategy, or maybe even if you are using an open source tool, adjusting that to a different vendor in the future is very difficult, right? And tackling this kind of data center management problem requires expertise, requires engineers, it requires infrastructure engineers, software engineers, and we never have enough people and never enough expertise, right? We are always working at the limits of our capabilities. And there's always too many tools and too many choices, especially for network monitoring, right? Our tools, our devices produce a lot of information, a lot of logs, a lot of statistics, and it is very difficult to find out what is the important data and what is not the important data. And finally, so the poll we just did said only 5% of our attendees today use some kind of SDN. So maybe that means there is still a lot of manual operations in IT. And manual operations is very time consuming, and it is also dangerous, right? It is very easy to make mistakes and cause outages in infrastructure. So, I don't want to give a very complicated message today. We are just saying IT management should be simpler. And we think the trend is operators want less tools, right? A unified solution to cover a wide range of tasks like design and build and operate. Instead of having 3 tools, you want 1 tool, right? So there are predictions from research firms like IDC that in about 2 or 3 years, infrastructure and networking will start to have more, condensed tools, less tools, and it will also start to have some kind of self-healing and self-learning capabilities, so that there is less and less need for humans to do these things. Okay, so intent-based networking, we think, is one great candidate for this kind of transformation. Gartner is saying that intent-based networking system can speed up your network infrastructure delivery. So speed up your project by 50% to 90%. And it will also decrease the number of outages by 50%. So this means, you know, automation, of course, it will make your projects faster, but Gartner is saying it also makes your infrastructure more stable because we are taking away the human error factor. So intent-based networking is a new approach to infrastructure automation. So let's talk about that a little bit. So as you know, there are many tools in the industry right now for anybody who wants to do automation in the network or any you know, IT infrastructure. So one key concept of intent-based networking is that it needs to eliminate vendor lock-in. Okay, so we think this is a very important concept for intent-based networking. Any IBN system should be vendor neutral. So if it only supports hardware from one vendor, that is not true intent-based networking. And the other important thing is automation should not just be about pushing configuration, you know, making a VLAN or setting up a switch from factory default, or, you know, configuring some access lists or something like that. That kind of task by task automation is called basic automation. But in the intent-based networking journey, this is only level 0. So intent-based networking as a concept is about full life cycle automation, not just configuration, but starting from the very beginning of a project, designing a network, deploying it, managing it, and eventually coming to a self-operating network. Okay, so this is the difference between intent-based networking and traditional automation techniques. Multi-vendor and full lifecycle automation. So when I say full lifecycle automation, please imagine a network project done by a human engineer. We start by making a Visio diagram or a PowerPoint diagram to design the network. And then later we start thinking about IP addressing, you know, port numbers, cabling, routing protocols. So we do detailed design, and then we deploy this network, implement to production service. And finally, after deployment is complete, we have the longest stage, which is, you know, day-to-day monitoring, maintenance, troubleshooting, right? So full life cycle automation takes care of everything in this cycle. So our product, Apstra AOS, is an intent-based automation system that provides this full life cycle automation. And the concept here is very simple. We have a user interface that will take very simple user input. So this is very high level input about your intent for the network, and we will automatically realize this network as a production service, and we will also monitor and validate it. And these are some of the vendors we support today, such as Arista, Cisco, and Cumulus Linux. And of course, Cumulus Linux support includes many of its third-party hardware vendors, partners like EdgeCore or Dell, HP. Okay, so we are, of course, a multi-vendor solution for automation. But what do we mean by intent-based and closed loop? Let's take a better look. So this means not only will AOS do the architecture and design and configuration for you, but based on your intent, it will also do continuous verification of your network and provide visibility to your service uptime. And also you can use the same tool to make operational changes like provisioning or maintenance or expansion. And the cycle continues based on your intent. So another way of looking at it is anybody has, even human engineer has this intended picture of the network in their brain, right? But also there is the reality of the network. So in a human project, you have your intent in a PowerPoint or Visio or something, and you design the network and you deploy it, implement this network once, and that's finished, right? And at that point, the intent and operational is disconnected. But in our intent-based networking system, the intent and the operational real-time status is continuously validated and compared. So if there is any difference between the intended network and the operational network, we are able to find failures. And of course, intent can be updated. Maybe you are doing some more provisioning, or maybe you are expanding the network or doing RMA. At that time, intent is updated and it is checked against the operational status continuously. So in this style, our product AOS has features in 3 categories: design and deploy features, where you can use our GUI to design the network. So just like you do in Visio or something, and you are able to deploy this network into production services. And after the network is in service, AOS will automatically start to validate and verify the end-to-end network topology. So this is much more than SNMP or syslog. We are not just sending you useless data. AOS is actually intelligent enough to analyze the end-to-end state of the network and tell you if the network is healthy and converged and ready for traffic, or if there is something wrong. And finally, we have many operational day 2 features, such as provisioning virtual networks, programming access lists, and automating physical tasks like network expansion or maintenance, switch replacement, or upgrading the OS on network devices. So this kind of day-to-day operational tasks are also automated by AOS. Okay, so I only have 2 or 3 more slides before I show you the demo. AOS is a pure software solution. So this is like a virtual appliance, okay? And this AOS server will communicate with switches in the management network. So we are in the management plane. If anybody today is very knowledgeable in SDN architecture, some SDN controllers are in the control plane, but we are different. We are purely a management plane solution. So this AOS server will communicate with each of the managed switches to configure and monitor these leaf and spine data center style networks. So I will show you very soon in the real product demo. So architecturally, AOS looks like this. The user inputs requirements in the GUI, and that requirement is imported by our automation engine which has features for designing, building, deploying, operating, and troubleshooting a network. This automation engine will take the user input and create a database that has all of the information about the network, physical information and logical information. And based on this database, the managed devices are configured to form a live production network. And once the network is in service, this real-time graph data store has operational telemetry imported from the network, and that information gets fed into our analytics engine, which is trying to find outages and any problems in the network 24 hours a day. Okay, so before I show you the demo, I would just like to share one technical detail. After this slide, I will show you the AOS server GUI. And in this GUI, we will do the network design. And when we are finished with the design, we will use some switches to actually build and implement a live network. At this time, the AOS server and the switch that we manage. So this switch is like a Cisco switch or a white box switch or Arista switch or something. We are going to install a device agent software on this switch. Okay, so AOS server and the switch communicates over a TCP channel using a agent software on the switch. And this agent software will configure the switch using each vendor's supported configuration methods like API or CLI commands. Okay, so this is the end of my slides. EasyNetworks team, should I continue on to the demo or should I take some questions right now?
มีคำถามอยากจะถามในช่วงเวลานี้ไหมครับก่อนที่คุณวาตารุจะพาเข้าไปสู่การเดโมนะครับคุณธนาสันบอกว่า EasyNetwork จัดสัมมนาบ่อยไหมก็มีจัดทุกอาทิตย์ครับผมก็สามารถติดตามข่าวสารได้ทางช่องทางของ EasyNetwork นะครับเดี๋ยวผมจะแจ้งตอนท้ายอีกทีนึงนะครับก็ถ้าระหว่างนี้ยังไม่มีคำถามอะไรนะครับก็เดี๋ยวผมจะเชิญคุณวาทารุสาธิตโอเค Wataru, please go to the demo.
Okay, thank you, Kopmunkap. So I have now switched my screen to the AOS GUI. Please let me know if it is too small, too hard to see. So again, this is just a virtual appliance. So right now, this is not a cloud-based offering or SaaS service. This is just a software that you can install in your PC or in a server. So it's very easy to install, and the user interface is 100% GUI based. So we support Google Chrome or Firefox as the web browser. Okay, so I will spend the next 20 minutes showing you our main features, main functionality of this software. So in my presentation, I said the concept for intent-based networking is full lifecycle automation: design, build, deploy, and validate. So let me start by showing you how to design a network using AOS. Today, our product focuses on data centers. Intent-based networking is a general concept of network automation. So intent-based networking can be used anywhere. in, you know, office campus or WAN or something. But today, as a product at Apstra, we focus on data center networks. So this is, you know, racks in data centers, which are carrying servers and storage and VMs, right? So please have in mind this kind of environment when I'm doing the demo today. So the first step of design in our product is to create a rack type, okay? A rack type is a simple concept. It is a network diagram for one rack. So this is one rack, okay? This is a simple example. In this rack, we have 2 leaf switches, also called top of rack switches. And there are 40 servers connected to both leaf switches. This is very typical, very common rack design in data center. Okay. In this example, I have chosen 48 port 10 gigabit switch to connect to servers and 6 port 40 gigabit to connect to upstream network to the spine switches. And for the servers, we have 40 servers, and each server has 2 ports of 10 gigabit and connected to both leaves. Okay, so this gives us this diagram. This is customizable very easily. We can edit this design. I can change the server count to 20. We see updated diagram. Maybe you don't need 2 leaf switches. I can turn off virtual chassis. Now you get a single switch rack like this. So I hope this gives you an idea. We can change the switch requirements from 10G to 1G or 25G with 100G uplink. We support anything in the industry. Okay. So this is a simple example of rack design. Of course, you can make different rack design, many different rack designs. So the idea is to create this based on your project requirements. Maybe you have project in December or something to deploy 10 racks of servers or something, right? So this is how you design your racks in AOS. So when you have finished designing the racks, we will now create a template. A template is a network, it's a basic network design diagram. So this is also very simple. We are going to choose the rack type that we just looked at, and we will add this rack to the design, right? This is 4 racks of 40 servers each. So if you have a project and you need to deploy 400 servers, then you can do something like this. 40 servers each and 10 racks. And of course, you can add different kinds of racks. So you can have a 10 gigabit rack and 1 gigabit rack. You can mix and match. And then we are going to choose the spine switch. This is the upstream switch. And we can increase the count like this, 2, 3, 4, for more redundancy and capacity. So in today's example, I have chosen 32 port 40 gigabit switch. Okay. And I will create this. And now we have this basic network design diagram. So I think you can imagine we have automated the process of doing a network design in Visio and PowerPoint and Excel, right? Instead, we have used this template feature to automate network design in the data center. Now, this template is just a basic network design, and it can be used multiple times. So now we are going to create a project. Let's say, Bangkok DC 1 or something, and we'll select the template and we convert this into a blueprint. So each blueprint, 1, 2, 3, nun song song, is each is a leaf and spine network. Each is a different project. Okay. So let's click on Bangkok DC1. So now you can see this kind of control panel for this project. So we will use this blueprint screen to complete this project and deploy this network, okay? So one task we automate at this place is IP address management. Here in this panel here, AOS tells you you need 64 IP addresses for leaf and spine link IPs, and they are unassigned. So I'm just going to click here, click on a subnet, this /16 subnet, and click on save. Okay. And this has already completed the link IP assignment. So I think you can imagine in any network project, a network engineer has to manage addresses, manage VLAN IDs, manage router ID, AS number, VXLAN ID, so many addresses and IDs, right? And this is a very simple but time-consuming task, and we are automating this in AOS. So nobody has to manage, these ID tables in an Excel spreadsheet or something, because AOS will tell you exactly how many IPs and IDs you need and for what you need them, and we will automatically assign them just by clicking a few buttons. Okay, so we have taken care of your addressing strategy. Now we will choose a hardware vendor for this project. I told you that intent-based networking, a very important aspect is multi-vendor support. So for this Bangkok data center project, for the spine switch, 40 gigabit spine switch, I am showing you here a list of switches from various vendors like EdgeCore, Arista, Cisco, Dell, Force 10, list of switches that can be used for this 40 gigabit spine switch. So I can try using EdgeCore Cumulus here. Okay. And for the leaf switch, 10 gigabit leaf switch for server connection. Maybe some of you in the webinar today are Cisco users, so I can choose a Cisco switch, for example. So this is the core of the open networking capabilities of AOS, because hardware is very transparent to us. All you need to do is click on your favorite hardware, and we will automatically create the configuration. Okay. So we have finished selecting the hardware. Acton EdgeCore for spine, and Cisco for leaf. So now I can just click on a switch in my topology diagram. So I have clicked on rack 4 leaf 2. And as you can see, we have already created the configuration for this network template and project. So I hope you can see that we just reduced the time for this project by a very significant amount, because designing this configuration and testing it takes a lot of expertise and engineering time, but this is automated by AOS. Finally, we also provide cabling support. We will generate this cabling table, host name, port number, host name, port number. So this is cabling recommendation automatically generated. And you can export this in CSV format or JSON format. So data center facility engineer can print this out in Excel and do the physical cabling according to the AOS recommendation. Okay, so we have finished designing this network, and we are now ready to deploy this network into live service. So let's do this. Today, I have 6 devices for this demo. Okay, I have 4 Cumulus VX switches and 2 Arista VOS switches. So these are virtual appliance switches for demo purpose. 2 spine switches and 4 leaf switches. So let's use these switches to show you the deployment of a network. These switches already have our agent software installed. So these switches have communication channel established between the switch and this AOS server. So we will go back to the blueprint list. And so for this deployment demo, I will use my virtual blueprint. In the Bangkok blueprint, I showed you Cisco and EdgeCore example. But in my virtual blueprint, we are going to use some Cumulus VX and Arista VOS to show you a demo of this deployment, okay? So this is very simple. We have this completed blueprint already. So this is where we left off in the Cisco EdgeCore blueprint. But the only one more thing that we need to do is assign system ID. Okay, so we have 6 switches today for deployment. So we are going to set spine 1 to have information about the hardware inventory. This is a serial number and IP address from the 6 switches we have for deployment today. So we are just giving information to the blueprint about the hardware inventory information to deploy this network based on this blueprint. Okay. Okay, so if I look at the table view of the switches, you can see spine 1, 2, and leaf 1, 2, 3, 4, and they have serial number assigned. So this means, let me click on leaf 3. Leaf 3 config. This configuration will be pushed to this switch, right? This serial number and this IP address. Okay, so let's do this. We are going to do an operation called commit. We are going to commit this blueprint And at this time, finally, the AOS server will start talking to the agents. Here, right? AOS server starts communicating to the agents, and it will start to push configuration as well as monitor and collect telemetry information. So this is the monitoring dashboard. When we commit the blueprint, we will automatically start to monitor the network. So one important information is here, service config deployment. We have sent configuration to 6 switches, and we are monitoring the API response from each switch and making sure all of the configuration was successfully received by each switch. Okay. And then if we scroll down, this gives an end-to-end view of the verification of the network. So this is like an automated network engineer comparing the original design versus the real-time status. You know, is all of the routing neighbors up? Are there no loops in the network? All of the interfaces are up. The switches are responding to, you know, ping. And all of the port channels are up. This kind of, you know, check that a network engineer does usually is done automatically by AOS. And this is end to end. So this monitoring dashboard, if this is all green, this means the network end to end as a whole system is stable and ready for application traffic. But if you see any red part here, this means AOS has found something wrong with the network. So let me show you a very simple example. So we have found some cabling issues. So let's click on a switch hostname to find out what happened. Let's click on physical diagram, and we can see that somebody has made a cabling mistake between spine 1 and rack 1 and rack 2. The solid line here, the crossing lines here, this is the real-time status based on telemetry. And the dotted line here is the intent. This is the original design. So we are showing there is a mismatch, a gap between intent and real-time status. And this is really what intent-based networking is about. AOS also always has an expected status of the network. And it also has visibility of the actual status of the network. So if we see any difference between the expected and actual, we will raise this as an error. So this is intent versus operational, intelligent monitoring of the network status. So this is how monitoring and validation works in an intent-based networking system. So in my example today, somebody has made a cabling mistake in one place. So they just need to fix this. And after that, we will have an all green dashboard and network will be stable and ready to go. Okay, I believe I was able to cover the major basic features of AOS. At this point, I realize it is 5 minutes before the planned time, so I would like to pause here. EasyNetwork team, maybe I should take some questions now.
ครับที่จบไปนะครับก็เป็นการสาธิตภาพรวมนะครับของตัว Apstra AOS นะครับเป็นฟีเจอร์รวมๆนะครับตั้งแต่การออกแบบการ deploy นะครับแล้วก็รวมไปถึงการติดตั้งและการดูแลนะครับว่าตัว AOS ช่วยให้ทำงานสะดวกรวดเร็วขึ้นได้อย่างไรนะครับมี1คำถามนะครับทาง Q&A. But we have one question in Q&A.
Okay, should I just read it and answer?
Yes, sure.
Okay, so the question is, can AOS support extreme? So this is the old brocade switches like the SLX or VDX series. Unfortunately, right now, we do not support. We have had requests for this from many customers in the APAC region, and we have plans in the future to add extreme support. But unfortunately, right now, we do not support.
ก็อย่าง yes go ahead.
Oh, okay, so right now, we support Cisco, Arista, Cumulus, and in the near future, around summer, we also plan to support Juniper QFX, as well as open source OS called Sonic, but Extreme Brocade will probably be after that. Yes, thank you.
Thank you วัทรุอย่างที่คุณวัทรุตอบไปนะครับก็มีการพยายามที่จะทำให้เข้ากันได้กับ Extreme Network หรือว่า Brocade นะครับแต่ว่าปัจจุบันนี้ยังไม่รองรับนะครับผมปัจจุบันนี้ที่รองรับได้เป็นอย่างดีก็คือทาง EdgeCore Cumulus นะครับ Arista Cisco นะครับแล้วก็ที่กำลังจะรองรับในเร็วๆนี้นะครับก็จะเป็นตัว Juniper นะครับกับ Open Source ที่ชื่อว่า Sonic ครับผมระหว่างนี้มีคำถามอื่นๆไหมครับระหว่างที่รอคำถามอื่นๆนะครับผมจะเปิดโพลที่2นะครับให้ทุกท่านได้ร่วมตอบคำถามกันนะครับสำหรับโพลที่2นะครับในองค์กรของท่านนะครับมีใช้อุปกรณ์เน็ตเวิร์กอยู่กี่ยี่ห้อหรือว่ากี่เวนเดอร์นะครับอยากจะไว้เป็นข้อมูลให้ทราบโดยทั่วกันนะครับว่าเป็นไอเดียว่าคร่าวๆใช้เกมเป็นยี่ห้อเดียว2ยี่ห้อหรือว่าหลายๆยี่ห้อนะครับก็จะได้นึกถึงในมุมของการที่จะมีเอนจิเนียร์ดูแลนะครับแล้วก็ติดตาม maintenance ซึ่ง config อัปเดตเรื่อง config นะครับก็จะเป็นภาพนี้ครับก็มีตอบเข้ามากันเยอะพอสมควรผมจะใช้เวลาอีกประมาณ10วินาทีนะครับแล้วเดี๋ยวจะแชร์ผลโพลให้ทุกท่านทราบกันนะครับตอนนี้มีโหวตมาประมาณ 40% ของผู้เข้าร่วมนะครับโอเคผมปิดโพลนะครับก็ในผู้เข้าร่วมสัมมนานะครับจะเห็นว่าส่วนใหญ่นะครับมีอุปกรณ์กันมากกว่า 4-5 ยี่ห้อนะครับก็จะมีแค่ 6% นะครับที่ใช้อยู่ยี่ห้อเดียว 13% ใช้อยู่2ยี่ห้อนะครับสำหรับวันนี้นะครับก็ขอขอบคุณผู้เข้าร่วมสัมมนาทุกท่านนะครับขอบคุณคุณมินซูคิมนะครับขอบคุณคุณวาทารุนะครับ thank you Mr. มินซูคิม and Mr. วาทารุนะครับก็เซสชั่นครับผมเซสชันนี้นะครับถือว่าเป็นเซสชันที่3นะครับของงานสัมมนานะครับ Next Gen Datacenter Webinar Series นะครับก็จบลงเป็นที่เรียบร้อยนะครับก็ขอขอบคุณท่านผู้เข้าร่วมสัมมนาทุกท่านนะครับสังเกตเห็นว่าบางท่านเข้าร่วมถึงทั้ง3วันนะครับก็ถือว่าได้รับการตอบรับเป็นอย่างดีนะครับสำหรับช่องทางในการติดต่อนะครับของทาง EasyNetwork นะครับก็สามารถติดต่อได้แทบจะทุกช่องทางนะครับตั้งแต่เว็บไซต์นะครับ www.easynetwork.co.th นะครับหรือว่าจะเป็น facebook.com/easynetwork นะครับแล้วก็ Line Official นะครับ @EasyNetwork นะครับถ้าหากว่าเป็นอีเมลนะครับก็จะเป็น info@easynetwork.co.th นะครับก็ท่านที่มีความต้องการจะสอบถามอะไรเพิ่มเติมนะครับก็ติดต่อได้ทั้งทางอีเมล info หรืออีเมลเซลล์ได้เช่นกันครับสำหรับตัวสไลด์นะครับแล้วก็วิดีโอที่จะดูย้อนหลังนะครับทีมงานจะเร่งประมวลผลนะครับและส่งให้ท่านได้ชมนะครับเป็นลำดับต่อไปนะครับ EasyNetwork นะครับยังมีงานเว็บมีนานะครับต่อเนื่องนะครับทุกสัปดาห์นะครับก็สามารถติดตามข่าวได้ทางช่องทางของ EasyNetwork นะครับสะดวกที่สุดก็น่าจะเป็น LINE นะครับเวลานี้นะครับก็สำหรับวันนี้ก็ขอขอบคุณและสวัสดีทุกท่านนะครับขอบคุณครับ